Welcome! You're listening to Making Relationships Work. We're a company focused on women and their marriage. We lead and teach women just like you how to grow into and access, whenever you need to, your wise woman's self. The part of you who is deeply connected to your purpose, your innate wisdom, and your husband and family. We teach women in marriages how to rebuild trust and connection, to work through conflicts no matter how deep, no matter how painful, and to lead your marriage to a place where the two of you experience marriage mastery. This podcast is about learning the systems and techniques that truly work to reconnect you back into your marriage so that you can experience the freedom that comes with a masterful marriage. Since this podcast is totally free, if you're getting tons of value and you want to support us and make sure that you get more of this good stuff, subscribe below and rate and review our podcast today. Now, on to the show. Hello, Women Making Marriages Work Facebook group. Hello, Making Relationships Work Facebook group, YouTube, and podcast. Can't forget that. It's really lovely to be here with you tonight. Tonight I sat and thought, what do I want to talk about most? What is the thing that's on my mind the most? And you know what it is? It's really simple, but of course, don't be confused by its simplicity as to its value. I want to talk to you about clarity. Clarity is the most underrated part of transformation. When we're not clear on what a problem is, we tend to bounce around in solutions that don't work, in a mental or mind space that is painful, that is a load on our body because of the pain that it is, but not just those two things. What tends to happen is when we're unclear, we tend to feel bad, and when we feel bad, we tend to want to move that away. So you see, clarity is the beginning or the kind of nucleus of solving something that hurts. And that's why it's simple, but it's not simple, is it? Because if it was simple, none of us would be in pain. And so let us unpack this a bit tonight. If you're thinking about your marriage and you're noticing that your marriage has a lot of negative energy in it, a lot of resentment, a lot of betrayals, perhaps some substance use or abuse, it might have pain points that are seemingly irreparable, and it might be full of patterns that aren't serving either one of you. The trouble with any of those things or all of those things is that it's very hard to see who belongs to what the real problem is, and therefore what the next right thing is. And therein, again, lies this magic word of clarity. Because when you can assess something and formulate something into a space where out of what looks like this very complex, messy, intertwined, quite hope-less, there's not a lot of hope left in the marriage. When you can start to pull those parts and kind of look at them independently, look at how they interplay, and then from there pull or distill down into kind of a sentence or two about what's really going on here, and then what the antidote is, that's where the relief is. Because what I know for sure is that the women that are here in this group, the women that call me or join my program, you are all very, very intelligent, smart women. So your problem is not that you can't learn something, that you can't problem solve it, that you can't find a way through it. You can. It's just that you're missing the piece around clarity. So you can't use the skills you have because you don't really understand what you're working with, and you don't really know how to translate that into something that needs to unfold in a different way. So I could easily show you the skills. I could easily teach you how to show up differently in a way that has this whole system switch energy or switch tones or start to come together. Yes? But we can't do that until you know exactly what the problem is, until you're really clear on what's not working and why. How did we get this problem? Where did it come from? When was the first time I saw it happen? How is it related to other things that are interconnected in our life? And that clarity is the relief. It's the balm. It's the thing that makes you stop being so angry at your husband, stop being resentful, stop being argumentative, stop being critical or contemptuous. It's the thing that allows you to see him again as a human. Because in the lack of clarity, pain happens. And you get enough pain and your walls go up, even when it's the best person you've ever known, your husband. Even then, up go the walls. And it's not too long before those walls don't really come all the way back down. And when they don't come all the way back down, what tends to happen is we build even more distance to keep ourselves safe. And so that makes sense logically, but for a marriage, it doesn't help us because we're starting to get further and further and further apart. And what we do is we look at that and say, I'm hurting and it's your fault. I don't quite understand why it's your fault, but it's not my fault because I'm trying. But of course, so is your husband. And so we get caught in this murkiness of not really knowing what's wrong. And of course, because we can't identify what's wrong, we have no idea where the solution lies. And so what happens is we build negative interactions over and over and over and over again until all that's left is a couple who used to be standing with their hands held together, kind of looking at each other and in love, yeah. But when we have this ongoing pain that's building up, it builds up between us, which forces us apart. And of course, if we could fix it, we would fix it, but we can't fix it. And you know why? Because this is a relationship. There are more than two parts in this relationship. There are two humans, and there's the marriage, which is co-created. Then you have all the outside stresses like family of origin, children, friends, community, work, where you're living. All of those things add stress and murkiness. And so with the murky comes more problems because you can't solve something you can't see. You can't work through something you can't name. You can't understand something and forgive somebody if you don't understand what you're actually doing and talking about. Again, with the word clarity. Because otherwise what happens is you spend the next few years in a space where you're adding problems. You're not reducing them, you're not clearing them, you're not making them into a space of connection and kindness. You're defending yourself. You're defending by using below the line behaviors, your denial, blame, justify, defend, contempt, criticism, stonewalling. And so is your husband. And as one of you moves away, perhaps the other one chases after, and then that doesn't resolve it either. And so you're doing this dance, but what the real problem is that the percentages start to shift away from your favor. Early days in your marriage, you'd had so much goodwill on your hands that these tricky things would be tricky, but you'd come back together. Come back together. Well, it's nearly time for me to go. But now what's happening is that you've been together for a long time. There's less goodwill. There's less a sense of us against the world. There's less of a sense of we can get through anything. There's more of a sense of, I have to go in a minute, don't I? There's more of a sense of my heart is broken and I don't really know how to handle this. And I have to look after myself. I have to look after my kids. He is not very good for me. My kids are seeing that. But what we've lost is the ability to see him as a good person, to see you as a good person, and to realize that the problem is not each other. The problem is a lack of clarity and a lack of skills to do it differently. And so that's what we're talking about tonight. And now, of course, you understand why it's so important. If you don't have clarity, you literally can't fix anything. You can't change anything. You can't grow any part of you. Why? Because you literally don't have a map. And our most important gift is clarity. And so if you want to get really clear on what's working and what's not working, my masterclass is useful for its skill set. How do you start to move back towards a person that you've put your barriers up? So watch that masterclass. If you watch that masterclass and you check out some of the videos I've done, you listen to some of them and you think, actually, I don't have clarity and I don't know where to begin, my team and I offer free 45-minute breakthrough calls. You can jump on my calendar, I'll pop the link below, and you can find a time that works for you. Now, those calls are only for people who are really serious about transformation and change. We love to help you, but we often have really long wait times to get into our team. So don't book a call if you're not ready for transformation. Leave that slot for somebody else who is, please. So book a call, watch the masterclass, watch the other videos in here, and start to realize what's the real problem. The problem is I can't put a paragraph description around what's going wrong. Or if I can describe to you what's going wrong, it's all about blaming other people. He did this, he doesn't do this. It's not good, it's his fault. I'm not very good and I can't do this. And there's too much pressure here and it's not my fault. And so that is not clarity. That is just pain. Do you see the difference? Clarity comes from, my friend is upset. I'm upset. We're trying to find each other and we can't. We don't know how to do it. So what we're missing is a way to repair and come back together. Do you see the difference? That's clarity. So if you want some clarity, watch the masterclass, book a call. We'd love to talk with you. And until next time, your job is to look at your life and find clarity. Do your journaling, talk it through, figure it out. When you can name it without blaming anybody else, you're definitely on the right track. All right, my friends, I will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your week and we'll see you soon. Bye, lovelies. Thank you for tuning into today's show. If you're feeling fired up and you're ready to grow and you want to know more about how to do that, here is what I want you to do now. I want you to watch my marriage masterclass. This masterclass will show you how my clients have turned their struggling marriages into thriving marriages, even without their husband's buy-in. How my clients have gone from cycles of poor communication, disconnect and loneliness to being teammates and soulmates with their husbands again, even after they've already tried everything. And the proven system my clients use to start transforming their marriages in minutes, not years, because life is too precious to waste one more minute in an unhappy and unfulfilling marriage. So if this is what you're looking for, I want you to click the link below and take a look at my masterclass.